Okay, we're going to get started. Cool, thanks for joining. Very loud. I'm extremely excited today to present an inside look at Motiv's new AI-powered safety features. The real focus here is reducing risk and rewarding those drivers. So let's jump in. We have a packed agenda, so we'll go through a little bit of detail on some of those new AI behaviors. We'll look at how you can tailor your system to capture those things and drive better impact for your business. And then we'll look at how we scale coaching. So you might have seen a little preview of this at the beginning, but we're going to go into a lot more detail on AI Coach and look at some takeaways of how we can do that. We'll then open it up for questions at the end for diving in a little more detail. So, introduce our presenter today. So my name is Alex Martel. I'm a senior sales engineer here at Motiv. My background includes video analytics, text analytics, customer experience, and frontline enablement, meaning coaching. I'm here with Nihar Gupta and Clint Mercado.
All right. Hi, everybody. Nihar Gupta. I've been at Motiv for several years now. I'm on the product team. I own our driver safety products. And I've been in and out of AI for the last 10 plus years. And excited to be here with you all today. Clint?
Good afternoon. It is afternoon now, not morning. My name is Clint Mercado. And before I kind of go into my intro, just want to thank Motiv for the opportunity, but also the opportunity to educate whoever needs it in the room. Even though safety does affect all of our companies, I feel like the safety profession is a very close-knit family. So if you need any help, we've had a lot of trials and tribulations throughout our rollout and our program design. So if you see myself or Brady Baldwin, one of our regional safety managers, feel free to wave us down. We'd like to help out in any way we can on your rollout or your journey through your safety program as well. So, but a little bit about myself, been in the profession 20 plus years, 13 with MHC Kenworth as a corporate safety manager, and mentor 5 regional safety managers and have oversight on the safety program. A little bit about MHC Kenworth. We are the largest Kenworth dealer in North America. We consist of 130 locations, 19 states, and almost 1,100 vehicles. And now, when you think about MHC Kenworth, we're not a trucking company. We sell to trucking companies. So the majority of our fleet is more of like an F-150 or Silverado. And we've been in the dash cam system for 11 years now. And we jumped over to Motiv about a year and a half ago, but have had a partnership with Motiv over 3 years now. So one of the cool things we have achieved on our journey, MHC was awarded by the National Safety Council the Green Cross Award for Safety Excellence in Vehicle Safety Program. And that was just all the hard commitment and work by our staff, our safety team. So thank you all.
Okay. All right. So I know we've got about 35 minutes left or so. We're going to go quick here. I know I'm also we're between you and lunch. So I recognize that. So we're going to make this as interesting as possible. We'll leave some Q&A time at the end, but let's get right into it. So first off, let me just talk a little bit about how we're going to break this up. We're going to start with some of our AI detection. You saw a preview of that earlier in the keynote. We'll kind of dive into a few of those specifically, some of the new AI models we're working on. We're going to get into event customization and sort of even beyond events, how you can customize in the platform at a high level, and then we'll get into coaching. So first off, when we think about those 3 areas, right? Again, AI is really kind of the bedrock and the foundation of what's driving a lot of the safety outcomes that we want to enable for our customers. So we'll spend some time on that. We'll get into, like I mentioned, the different configurability options you have as well. And then finally, the coaching experience. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into AI Coach than what you saw in the keynote. And just do a couple clicks in, tell you a little bit about how we've thought about it and how we're building it. So let's start with first some of the new AI models that we are working on. Okay, first one is vision-based collisions. It's about to come up here, I promise. There we go. Okay, so we take a lot of pride in collision detection and how well we do it at Motiv. We detect high severity collisions at a very high rate, around 99% recall when it comes to those high severity collisions. But we're not done with building out collision detection. And we also know that while we do lower severity collisions very well, that we want to get that up to the same level on par with how we do high severity collisions. So we're exploring different ways to solve this problem. One of the ways is with computer vision. And this is an incredibly novel way because nobody really does this in the industry today. Everybody relies on telematics and different inputs from the vehicle, but we're going to do this with vision. And like I said, hard problem because every collision is a little bit different. It's different than like say a cell phone detection where it's a little bit more clear-cut problem and at least easy to understand. Each collision is very unique, right? So the team's been hard at work at building a model here to detect collisions as well that'll apply high severity and low severity collisions. So that's one of the new AI models that we're working on. Let's talk a bit about the next one as well. Forward parking. So one of the other models that we're working on this year is forward parking. And this is a model where we've gotten a lot of feedback from fleets where where they see a lot of collisions is when that first move is reverse. And so these might be smaller fender benders, but they still add risk and liability. So the ask was basically, hey, can you build a model to actually detect this? And so this is what we did, using telematics to determine when that first move is a reverse. We're also in the process of actually migrating this to an intelligent algorithm that's going to use different inputs like bearing, speed, and location to detect these automatically. They get up, sent up for review by our safety team to ensure it's a forward parking event. So another model that we're working on this year that's going to launch here in the next couple months. Next, pedestrian collision warning. So this is, I know it's a little bit shocking. Thankfully, everything's okay from this video. Pedestrian was not hit, but these are like very high severity, incidents, right? This is an extension of our forward collision warning model, which is in beta today. But we want to extend that beyond just vehicles being sort of the object that we're detecting in those models. We can do this across other sort of collision warnings. So another detection is obviously a person. The other one that we hear feedback on that we're going to work on as well later is animals. So we want to make sure that we are giving drivers as much warning as possible when they're about to strike another vehicle or person or animal as well. Okay, let's go to the next slide around positive driving. So, if you attended the last session, and just as a general philosophy, we don't want to just focus on the unsafe behaviors, right? The negative behaviors. We also want to call out the positive moments. It's really important to have those productive coaching sessions and get buy-in. So a lot of our focus has been in also surfacing those positive behaviors. One of the ways that we do this that's very differentiated in the market is because we have a safety team that reviews all videos. We also send up a wealth of videos, like potential near collisions and other types of videos for review. And when they see something that's positive, say an alert driving scenario, let's say they created a safe distance with a vehicle in front, they'll automatically apply that tag to those events so that it's automatically surfaced for you as a positive event. Now that's better than having you all have to kind of sift through videos and do that yourself, which you can still do, but we want to actually automate that process for you and save time for our fleet. So this is also something that's going to be rolling out in Q2 to automatically detect those. All right, let's keep moving. Okay, so again, if you attended the last session, they did a great deep dive into the full layers of customization we offer in the platform. They're going to do it again tomorrow if you want to see kind of that live demo. I'm going to cover it at a high level though, because I think it's important to recognize sort of the full range of customization that we have. So starting with customization around different unsafe behaviors, and we provide a kind of unparalleled ability to do this, right? By different inputs to each of those behaviors. For cell phone by duration or by speed. For close following, you can also customize by time to hit. So we want to give you the ability to detect unsafe behaviors and risk, ensuring that it's tailored to how you think about these problems, right? You can do this obviously at the company level, which hopefully most of you have been exposed to at some degree, or maybe you're even doing this in the platform. You can also do this at the vehicle level as well. So we're going to be launching this actually the next couple of weeks, where you have all the same dials that you have at the company level. You'll have those at the vehicle level as well. Additionally, And this is particularly important probably for very large fleets, and actually, frankly, not even necessarily the largest fleets, but being able to do it at the group level as well, right? So if you separate kind of your different fleets into different groups and you want to have different controls for those groups, it's very important to be able to do that right within the system. So not just vehicle level, down to that level of granularity, but also at the group level, by location, maybe new set of drivers you want to have on a different set of, different, customization for them. So you'll have kind of all that ability, right? Okay, next, safety score. Hopefully most folks here know that this is fully customizable, but being able to do this by behavior, including certain behaviors in the score as you see fit, that's all doable in the platform today. And then finally, customizing coaching, right? So being able to send training videos directly to your drivers, right? You have kind of that switch to be able to turn on if that's something you wanted to do. In addition, allowing drivers to self-coach, right? So if you want drivers to kind of take some of that burden off of the coaching department or coaching team, you can do that with self-coaching and basically enforcing them to watch videos in the driver app automatically, right? And doing that within a certain period of time, and that considers it coached in the platform. So that's also something you can actually customize down to the behavior level as well. And then of course there's AI Coach, which we'll talk about a little bit later, which is sort of a different coaching paradigm that we want to build. Okay, all that said, I want to pass it off because I can talk forever about safety, and that's great, but you want to hear the customer perspective as well. So let's have these folks kind of jump on here.
So Clint, just tell me a little bit about the philosophy. So I know for your safety program, you guys have had pretty good success with the program. And I would just like to understand a little bit about how you build that philosophy around safety to really help build that driver trust.
Yeah, so it starts with transparency. I'm pretty honored that Coach Shark took our why example. But no, we've been talking about why now for 11 or 12 years, and we think that's very important from the standpoint of we do a hands-on rollout with all of our employees. So we've got close to 5,000 employees now, and it doesn't matter to us if you're a road warrior, so our sales staff, delivery driver, mobile tech, or you're a technician that gets in a vehicle once a quarter, they all have the same risk. And we want to make sure we are in front of them with a hands-on approach to help prevent that line loss. As you know, if somebody's not fully comfortable with why we're putting in a video event recorder in their vehicle, it can kind of go awry, especially when you're a decentralized locations like ours. So we want to get in front of them, get them comfortable, and what we say here at MHC is the proper UNA, understanding and acceptance. It's not necessarily they're going to be jumping for joy that they have a video event recorder in their vehicle, but if they know why what we're trying to achieve, at the end of the day, getting them home safe and sound each and every day to their friends and family, and that driving is probably the most riskiest thing that they do, is very important to us, but also the benefit of if they're doing everything to standard, it's all documented right there. And the final piece is the game footage, that we want to make sure that average drivers become good and good drivers become great. And the way you do that in any kind of competitive sport is even after a win, you review game film. So that's how we communicate that to our employees, that, hey, we know we're a pretty good driver, but we can always be better and we can always beat yesterday.
Nice. He talked about game film before yesterday, by the way, so I knew that.
Coach
took it right from you. I 100% agree with that. Nihar talked a little bit about customization, so configuring the platform, making settings changes. Talk to us a little bit about how you've done that, and again, how has that helped your organization?
Yeah, so the great thing about Motive and what we were most excited of is just customizing in real time. That was a big deal for us, and then the opportunity, and I know they talked the prior session about in-cab alerts, essentially. That's big for us because we have an awards program that if you do have a coaching event as one of our full-time drivers, you're out of the running. So we run a very competitive rewards program. So the opportunity to set a in-cab alert so they can kind of own that behavior and correct it before it turns into an event capture, that's great in our eyes. So We don't do that for all of our behaviors. We do have a zero tolerance related to distracted driving, and that's where our rollout comes into play. They understand how critical it is to not display that behavior behind the wheel at M8C. But everything else, we have the flexibility of creating an in-cab alert and allowing that driver to self-coach and correct before it turns into an event.
Okay, so in-cab versus event capture, different settings for those. What do they get if they don't have an event all year?
So $500, and then also some customized, personalized swag. Usually our guys and gals like hats, and then usually like a backpack, Yeti, cooler, whatever it may be. So we've been running the program now for close to 10 years now, so it's been pretty successful.
Like a couple dozen a year or something like that, or more than that?
So we've been averaging the last couple of years almost 200, which,
right,
you know, when you hear no coachable event, no preventable collision, you're going to take out a lot of your folks. But when you're supported by your executive team and it's that much of your culture, it can be achieved.
200, wow, that's impressive. No events through the year.
Yeah, we actually have 2 of our mobile techs. So think about, so they not only drive in a metropolitan area, they also go to a customer location, do a 4-hour repair, then drive to another location. They went 10 years without a coachable event. We've had 2 technicians do that. And we have looked, their video event recorder does work. So they're not turning it off. So they're not turning it off.
That's fantastic. So talk to me about that coaching piece. So again, I know, is it a mix of self-coach, manager coach? Like what escalates things? Like how do you guys tackle the events that do come in?
So I would say that we're more of a traditional approach in the past of face-to-face coaching, because we love those touch points with our employees of just, it turns into an organic conversation of you start talking about the event, but you can highlight anything else that employee is dealing with. So we've been the model of that kind of traditional face-to-face. But just like everybody in the room, we have our pain points, right? A consistent message, new managers, you know, we all struggle with that. And we're wanting to adopt a hybrid model.
Okay. Because
all of our employees have the driver app. They're utilizing that for their vehicle inspections. Yeah. So it's just a natural progression for our program to specific behaviors we can mold as more of a self-coaching opportunity. The more severe, we could tailor that hybrid model to come in, talk to one of our department managers, and have that coaching session.
I mean, amazing success in terms of the driver effectiveness and driver safety. Like, we really appreciate that being on the road. I think, again, from here, we'll maybe turn it back to Nihar and talk a little bit about AI Coach, and like maybe AI Coach can help you guys build some of that hybrid approach.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, we're excited about it, especially with the different avatars you can create, and we like to personalize our message to our employees. So yeah, we're excited about it.
Let's
take advantage of it.
Yeah, perfect. No, you're good. You're good. I think I want to share some more about AI Coach here. So this is actually the perfect entry point for me. Okay, so let's talk about it. How do we kind of scale more effectively, right? Coaching, and you heard some of the problems earlier, and you all experienced them around delivering consistent messaging and coaching to drivers, right? Doing it in a timely way, not waiting weeks or even days, but being able to do it, essentially, instantly, in the future. Doing it in a way that you can scale it, right? So that's where I think AI Coach is so interesting. Let's just revisit. This is Coach Chris that is going to talk with you here in a moment, but let's revisit sort of what the AI avatar experience is. This is kind of a shortened version.
And go over a few areas to help you stay safe and efficient on the road. Charlie, your safety score this week is 80. Let's highlight some behaviors that impacted your score. First, we'll cover an area for recognition, safe distancing. Next, we'll cover areas for improvement, cell phone usage and vehicle idling. Charlie, you handled it perfectly when vehicles cut you off, creating a safe following distance. Your quick, responsible reaction reduced the risk of an accident. Great job. Let's review an area for improvement. You had 4 instances of cell phone use this week. Even a quick glance can be dangerous, and distracted driving is a leading cause of accidents. To stay safe, pull over before using your phone and stay focused on the road. Another area of improvement is vehicle idling. Charlie, you idled for over 15 minutes on Thursday in San Jose, despite not being in the vehicle and with mild weather. Minimizing idling in such conditions saves fuel, cuts costs, and reduces emissions. Here are some key takeaways. First, great job creating a safe following distance. Next, avoid phone use. Lastly, reduce vehicle idling whenever possible to improve fuel efficiency. I appreciate your commitment and know you'll continue making great decisions on the road. Let's keep up the progress and have a fantastic week.
Okay, so again, that's all AI generated, right? This is one of the pre-built avatars that we're going to use, and you know, everything from the script and everything was all AI generated. So let's actually kind of dig a little bit deeper into how this works. First off, you know, the avatar creation, right? So you won't believe how many discussions we had internally about selecting the right avatars here. But the thing is, like, we don't want to limit ourselves. So even though we're going to start with a couple avatars, you know, there's no reason why we need to limit ourselves that way. So our plan is to have sort of a roster of avatars to choose from, whoever you wanted to for your fleet, but then also make it customizable, as you saw with Tim, you know, the safety guy in the keynote earlier, if you were able to attend. So that's our goal with avatar creation. Incredibly lifelike experience here with the avatar. I've had some really good conversations with folks. Would love to talk, you know, even after the session if you're interested. But the ability to customize to, you know, maybe the individual I'm talking to, maybe it's an executive at a team, maybe it's even a safety manager or a branch manager in a location, and having kind of multiple avatars manage those different groups of drivers. We're not there yet, but that's, I think, the power and the scale of AI Coach. Okay, next, and I'm going to warn you, this is a little bit creepy, but bear with me for the next 20 seconds. I might need help on this one if it's not going to autoplay. Let's see.
Hi, thanks for reviewing your safety score with me. Today we'll go through a quick recap of your recent
driving activity and identify areas to level up. Let's jump in.
Charlie, your safety score decreased from 71 to 64 this week,
indicating areas that need attention. Let's keep up the effort and work on these behaviors to improve your safety record. I wish you a fantastic week.
Now, of course, all these voices are also generated with AI. Some are maybe different or better quality than others. Being able to match those voices appropriately to the avatar, getting, you know, even as like the things like getting the lips matching to the the lip movement matching to the words. You know, this is how far this technology has advanced. Again, you saw that Will Smith video from 2 years ago, but it's just gotten so incredible. But even just choosing the right voices, making sure they match with the avatar appropriately, you know, that was a process that the team went through as well. And then finally, the script generation. As I mentioned, each piece here is, you know, created through AI. So using generative AI, using large language models to actually create this, but doing it in a way that's controlled, right? This is super important. Can't just, you know, kind of throw all this information at one of these models and expect to get the output that we need. We have to really go through a lot of fine tuning, which the team has done, to make sure that it's the appropriate output, and using all those different inputs about the driver, using, you know, what are their worst behaviors, you know, what positive events do they have, and all that feeds into that model to then produce the right output that then we create a voice for that then gets matched to the avatar. So multi-step process, a lot of different layers, but all done through kind of modern AI technology. Let's talk a bit about kind of what does a weekly safety recap look like. So the way that we're going to launch this first is every week we're going to generate this video, right? So with an avatar, with, you know, personalized information. It's not generic. It's meant for that particular driver with their actual driver data, and we create that whole experience for them and that whole video for them to, you know, to basically watch, you know, independent of having any human involvement. And so we want to do this in a very structured way, just like we expect, you know, and you expect coaches to deliver that messaging in a structured way to drivers. It's the same idea. We want to, you know, make this also very personable. So you start with an intro, right, of the avatar. We're not just going to kind of dive into here's what you need to work on. We want to start with how's the safety score changing, right? What are the top behaviors impacting that safety score? What are their positive behaviors to recognize first? So you create that positive momentum in the conversation. You know, what are the takeaways, right? What are the, you know, how do you reinforce some of the things that you want those drivers to work on, and then a conclusion. So our entire script and our entire video kind of follows this structure to a T, right? That's how we built the whole thing. And importantly, this is not just something that happens in isolation in the driver app. We want to give you all visibility into what the drivers are seeing, right? Give you the ability to audit those videos or just understand kind of how this data is being used to coach drivers. So you'll have the ability to go into the system, go into the coaching platform, right, and actually be able to watch those videos that are being sent to your driver. So that's also very important that you've got kind of this full visibility into what's happening. Okay, I think I'm going to hand it back to you all, and would love to hear you guys talk about this feature and get feedback from MHC on it.
Yeah, I'm going to ask the question. So, are you excited about AI Coach?
We are excited.
Yes.
So,
all right. What about it kind of gets you most excited, and how it's going to help your team?
As I alluded to earlier, is that it allows us to personalize the message. It's catered to their specific behaviors, their week as well. And we do like to personalize our message, so we look forward to hearing about the advancements of maybe it is their regional safety manager down the road that is doing the weekly coaching from an AI standpoint. But we're excited to use the tool just because, again, we talked about the pain points. We all struggle with the consistent message. You can't be everywhere at one time, and as much as you try to train your coaches, your department manager, their communication or their message may be a little bit different than what we want to see. So from what we like about it, just the consistency and the timeliness of it.
Cool. Well, you're doing something right, as I said before. So we're super excited about
Thank
that.
you.
So we're going to jump to the next slide. We'll go ahead and talk a little bit about what we covered, and then we're going to open it up to some questions. So again, thank you, Clint, for sharing details. So again, we covered a little bit of the new AI behaviors. So some tips and advice, prepare your team for that. So get them ready, understand why it's valuable, why it matters, how it keeps them safe. So don't just flip it on and say, oh, I've got new AI behaviors. Make sure they understand the why behind it, as Clint talked about. Don't be afraid to customize your settings, right? He talked a little bit about in-cab versus event capture and using that to coach the drivers, but also giving them a chance to self-correct unless it's distracted driving or a cell phone, which I completely agree with. So make sure you're using those, test those out. As you saw earlier, we're going to be able to do that now at the vehicle level too for some of these settings. So enable some of those training videos and get self-coaching ready for them. And then as we start to roll out AI Coach, start to think about how you can use that to build that consistency, running it every week. Make sure you get some feedback from your driver. Share that feedback with us, with Nihar, with the team here about what you're seeing, how it's helping you, how it's changed, what we need to do better, what we need to do more of. And then again, if you want to hear more about coaching strategies, there is a coaching session at 3 p.m. at Palm Park B. So definitely check that out. But at this point, we'll turn it over to questions. We'll have a microphone running around somewhere.
They're both up here. If you guys don't mind coming up so that we can make sure we capture those questions properly, that would be great.
Okay, don't all come at once. It's okay.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So I realize in the history of ever, no driver or employee has ever taken their learning management tool and pressed play and gone back to their truck and made a sandwich while this is doing its own thing. So because of that, what do you have? Do you have any plans for ensuring that there's some sort of interactivity, question to be asked for verbal confirmation or any of those types of things to ensure that the person was actually interacting with? I realize that we can see whether or not the person has applied their training and their coaching based on their driving, but what I really don't want to do is assume that that person is taking all this information in, and then they're going to go out and drive another 150 or 200 miles and have a collision because they didn't.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. So I guess a couple things. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to break up the video into different chapters, right? So you see this in a lot of training modules where you can't just kind of hit play and watch a 30-minute video or a 3-minute, whatever the length is. So you break it up into different pieces. So you require some engagement, right, with that video. So that is something that we're going to do. The interactive part, I love that you brought that up because that is something that is on our roadmap as well. I think as the technology gets better, you'll actually be able to do some of that with AI, right? There's actually some really cool demos that you can do already today that create kind of an AI-generated but interactive experience. So I think that's something, I think the technology will evolve in that direction, just as we've seen the advancement over the last 18, 24 months. We're going to see more and more of that interactivity built into the AI as well. So that's going to be part of it as well. Then you can actually communicate with the driver in a way through AI to make sure that they're actually understanding, to get their feedback. This isn't intended to just be a one-way thing, maybe initially, but over time to get their feedback. And then maybe there's even training modules after the fact. Hey, what have you learned? Here's a quick quiz on the things that I want you to do from a close following standpoint. So that's also where I think you can drive more engagement through the process. That's a great question. Yeah, please.
On your AI, the coaching, if you get an avatar to do your coaching for you, is that video attached to, is the AI attached to the video that he coached? So say if we have a frequent flyer and they want to pull up all the guy's events because he hit somebody in the rear end because and then he has 5 following distance. They say, how's your coaching? You say, well, this AI coaching, and is it the same AI, and is it the same spiel every time?
Yeah. Yeah, great question. So the question, well, I'll just repeat it for everybody. So the question is, are the AI coach videos, I think, attached to that driver? Are all the historical ones attached to that driver? Is it tailored also, or is it just kind of a generic thing that gets spit out for that driver kind of week over week? That's how I understood it. And so, first of all that history is there, right? You can customize sort of how much you want to retain. That's a different subject. But all the history is there in the platform should you want it for all the videos that are attached to that driver. And then each video is different. So each video will be tailored to what that driver did that week. Let's say they had more speeding events or cell phone events that week. We'll tailor the messaging in the AI to whatever was the prominent behavior for that week. And even the verbiage, even like the intros, the outros, the entire script is going to be different. So it's using tailored data and it's generating a different script by week. So it's not sort of just a redundant thing that happens week over week, if that makes sense. Awesome. Do you mind using the mic?
Is there an extra cost to this, or is this going to be part of the Motive user platform?
Yeah, great question. So extra cost or not, this will be part of our workforce management package. Okay, so and so that is a separate bundle from sort of your standard safety one. It's going to be embedded in that because ultimately that's right where it fits. And so you can even do things like as part of the customized driver walkthrough, right? You can even have like driver needs to watch this video right on this day before they can start their day or at the beginning of the week and what have you. But it'll be part of that packaging.
Over here.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to be the only one asking this weird question. How does it hold up in court? When you have an incident, you got a driver that you've done a lot of AI virtual coaching, and that's reviewed or discoverable.
Yeah, so I have to start with, I am not a lawyer. I'm just a product guy building stuff. So I'm not going to pretend to have a concrete and solid answer on how it would hold up in court. I think like generally speaking, we are now moving into this paradigm where AI is kind of ingrained in sort of our lives and even in our products, right? And so we want to use the best, technology that exists. And then how that technology gets used by you all, I think that's up to the fleet to decide kind of how that's going to be used. How this would hold up, not something that I can answer. It's something that separately, happy to like broker a conversation with like our legal team to give you a perspective, but also like this is kind of like a lot of uncharted territory in my own non-legal opinion. So,
and we do capture that it happened, right? You saw the slide where it actually captures that coaching was delivered. So again, not a lawyer. Yep. All right, we have one last question.
So many disclaimers in like the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Right? Go ahead here, and then next, and we'll wrap up.
So I have a driver that has a few events throughout the week. With the AI coach going through with the driver the events, the incidents that occurred during the week, does it automatically mark them as coached then?
Oh,
or
great
is that
question.
Still like a manual procedure?
Good point.
So initially, no, but that is actually very much part of our roadmap where you can actually just have those events be coached through AI Coach so that it marks the events as coached. So that'll be customizable, but if you wanted the driver to just go through that AI Coach process, they've watched videos as part of it, as you saw in the demo here and the keynote, they've effectively watched those videos, you can consider those self-coached, which is already a setting in the platform, and that'll just mark those videos as coached. Good question, yeah.
Okay, in your studies, you got the self-coaching, you have the old school coaching, which I'm a fan of that, because the interaction. Now we have the AI. What's your effective rate for each one for repeat?
What's the what, I'm sorry?
What's the effective rate for each one? Which one's better?
Clint, do you want to take a shot at that?
Let's start with that one from his professional opinion.
He's also not a lawyer, though. So
Yeah, I mean, I would say traditionally we have, I mean, if you look at our numbers, so we've reduced at MHC our collision rate, preventable collision rate by 75% since being on a dash cam program using the traditional model. So I would say it's only as effective as the manager, but if you have a manager that knows the message, knows the timeliness of getting in front of that driver, I would say it's traditional, but as we move to these different platforms, I think there's an appetite and there's a possibility where the hybrid and or the AI model we can all benefit from. I think you can always adopt the AI model, and if the manager, or if the driver is not taking to it, you can always go back to the traditional approach to kind of address the severity of what's going on.
And you guys also focus on having that done within 24 hours, from what I recall. Right?
Yeah. So we highlight that you have to coach your employee within 24 hours. So
I'll add one thing, and then I think we have to close. AI Coach is so new; it's unclear. Kind of, it's hard for me to say now, like that's the one that's going to be most effective. But I think there's a lot of promise in that approach because you're able to basically, not every fleet can kind of coach within 24 hours, right? So you're able to deliver that quickly. You're able to deliver it consistently, right? We see all the time different coaches and different fleets kind of, have different, effectiveness rates, right? Now you basically kind of level the playing field, and all your coaches are effective as the AI coach effectively, right? That is the new gold standard. So I think there's a lot of promise in terms of what you can do with AI Coach, but it's still early in new technology. So I don't know. Hope that helps. But I do think we need to close because we are past time.
Say thanks, Nihar.
Yeah.
Thanks, Clint. Thank you, everybody here.
thank you.
If you still have questions afterwards, don't be shy. Tackle them in the hallway, gently, of course. But yeah, come up to us for questions. We're happy to answer anything you need. Thanks.